300年経った世界の友人よ、お前の名を聞かせてくれ。何が楽しい、何が面白い。
This tale took place over 400 years prior to the current Demon Slayer story. The life of Yoriichi began as the younger of two twin brothers, born into the household of a lord. At this time, twins were believed to be problematic in terms of succession and inheritance, but things were made easy for their father as the youngest child, Yoriichi, was born with a rather disturbing birthmark that laid across his forehead. And so the older child, Michikatsu, was dubbed his successor, whereas Yoriichi was sentenced to death. But with this decision, Yoriichi's mother fell into an unrelenting rage and would not allow the child to be killed. And so they came to the compromise that Yoriichi would live, but at the age of 10 would be sent off to a temple where he would dedicate his life to faith. And so with that, Yoriichi and Michikatsu, despite being identical twins, lived almost entirely different lives. From their rooms, clothing, education, and even the food that they consumed. Michikatsu was cherished, whereas Yoriichi was tolerated. Yoriichi, for the most part, always clung to his mother, but remained incredibly difficult to read, as since birth, he had never once smiled. And more than that, he never spoke. And so his mother, being a woman of great faith, prayed for the sun deity to shine warmly upon her son's deaf ears. And as a representation of this, she made a pair of earring charms for him. These charms being the very same pair that Tanjiro wears today. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Yoriichi's mother actually wasn't the only one who worried about him, as his older brother, Michikatsu, would often sneak into Yoriichi's tiny room just to play with him. Which was actually pretty risky, because if he were to be caught doing so or giving Yoriichi any of his things, then he would be reprimanded by their father with a severe beating. And so as a workaround, Michikatsu gave Yoriichi something he'd made himself, a small wooden flute. However, there wasn't much harm in observance, and so one day when Michikatsu practiced his sword swings in the family garden, a now 7-year-old Yoriichi stood beneath the shade of a pine tree as he uttered his first words. But although these were in fact the first words he'd ever spoken, he asked Michikatsu if it was his dream to become the strongest samurai in the nation, with perfect clarity. Now, Michikatsu, having all his life believed his brother to be deaf, in shock, dropped his wooden sword and gasped. And despite their parents' intentions to have him become a priest, Yoriichi continued with the declaration that he too desired to become a samurai, and in respect of his brother's dream, proclaimed his dream to become the second greatest samurai in the nation, and in the process, smiled for the very first time. After this, Yoriichi would go on to observe his brother's training with intentions of learning as well. And at the time, Michikatsu was being trained by their father's vassal, who, for the hell of it, gave Yoriichi a practice sword for fun, and even went as far as to give him simple instructions on how to hold it and such. From there, he urged the young boy to attempt to strike him, as he himself assumed a fighting stance. And with that, in the blink of an eye, Yoriichi unleashed a series of 4 consecutive targeted blows to the neck, chest, stomach, and leg that not only flung the man in the air, but also left him completely unconscious. But despite this awe-inspiring display, from that moment onwards, Yoriichi denounced his dream of becoming a samurai, as the feeling of bringing harm to another person was simply unbearable to him. Now, Michikatsu, who had witnessed all this firsthand, was infinitely curious as to the secret of his younger brother's strength. And in response, Yoriichi described the contraction of the opponent's lungs, disposition of their bones, contraction of their muscles, and flow of their blood to be a roadmap of their movements, something that a young Michikatsu couldn't comprehend in the slightest. And so, to be clear, Yoriichi, on top of being born with a mark, was also born with the innate ability to see the transparent world. Both attributes being that which most Hashira wouldn't go on to possess until well into their lives, if ever. But once again, the way of the sword no longer interested Yoriichi. It was to the point where whenever Michikatsu would bring up the subject, Yoriichi would look incredibly bored and would much rather play board games and such. But even still, with this transgression, it wouldn't be long before the positions of the two brothers would inverse, with their father receiving word from his vassal of Yoriichi's strength. From here, Yoriichi was made to be his heir, and Michikatsu would be the one sent to the temple. But one night, sometime between 3 and 5 AM, Yoriichi would visit Michikatsu, who had now assumed what was formerly his tiny room, with news of their mother's death. And it would be at this time that Yoriichi would also tell his brother of his departure for the temple. But he, at the very least, wanted to be able to say goodbye first, telling his brother that despite their distance, he wouldn't lose heart and will work diligently each and every day.
Then I know, once in your dome, and the bitch I'm all alone. Sick and tired of bitches acting like they wanna know me. Freddy ain't no phony, tried to check me, it's a warning.
Oh shit, here we go again.
What's the point of being single when you break up alone? You chicken nuggets on the floor and you bitches a hoe. I wanna get the sis on.
300年経った世界の友人よ、お前の名を聞かせてくれ。何が楽しい、何が面白い。
Tonight the music seems so loud. I wish that we could lose this crowd. Maybe it's better this way. We'd hurt each other with the things we want to say. We could have been so good together. We could have lived this day.